There's my leftover broth from the mussels last night. Moule à la crème. So, following with tradition, we'll cook up just a couple of more chopped veggies. Basically some shallots. A nice good 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. So the shallots, garlic, and half a bulb of fennel. So let's just get this going, because this stuff here is already pretty salty, because it's a brine, or sorry, not a brine, but it's a broth made from mussels and white wine and a bunch of other ingredients. But you don't toss it away once you're done with the mussels. Toss it in the fridge. We strained it using a cheesecloth to get all the extra particles of spices and veggies and stuff. So what we'll do now is we'll use this broth to make a risotto, which I've never made before in my life. So I'm going to throw that in there. I have some chopped oyster mushrooms, which I'm going to make the risotto with. And I'm going to just wait another minute just to give that some sizzle. And so much for that. I'll turn the heat up a bit. Let that butter get good and hot. Rinse the fork I dropped on the floor. Give a little toss around. Because really you don't want your veggies turning colors. So cooking them on a low heat is a good thing. So like I said, I got fennel, about 2 good sized shallots in there, not green onions, shallots, and half a bulb of chopped fennel. So what I have waiting on the side is a bunch of chopped oyster mushrooms. I'll add those later. And before I do the final touches, I'll saute some full oyster mushrooms to drop on top of the risotto. I could probably chop this a lot finer for a risotto, but considering it's my first time, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, to help it sweat, I'll give it a light sprinkle of kosher salt. I mean, a light sprinkle. It's not even a 1/4 teaspoon there, but because it's big chunks of salt, it'll do its job. So once this gets sauteing pretty good, that's when I'll throw in the Calrose rice. This is the type of rice that you use for making sushi and stuff like that. The Italians probably use a different rice or something close to it. It's high gluten, sticks together, and that's what you want for a risotto. But the most important thing is you want it to be al dente. Al dente means kind of a little bit like, not crunchy, but less than crunchy, but it's got some texture to it. When you bite into it, it crushes between your teeth, but doesn't stick to your teeth. So now I already seared my salmon. I'm going to throw that in the oven and finish it off. Always maintaining it skin side down. Throw a little sauce on it to brown it up. It was supposed to be just completely pan seared, but I kind of missed the timing for all that, so I'm just going to throw that in the oven now and let it finish cooking. So now I can already smell that butter going with the fennel, garlic, and the Just trying to find my good stir stick here. Get that little mofo out. You don't belong in there. Yeah, that's smelling really nice. Okay, so just want it to bring it up just a bit higher. And I'm going to make about 2 handfuls worth of this rice. Which probably would equal about 1.5 cups of Calrose rice. So let's see what happens. So as I saute this rice and veggie mixture, it'll start to absorb whatever moisture is going to be released by the veggies. And that's the big difference between a regular rice pot or cooking rice in a pot versus a risotto. Risotto is going to not, in this case, suck up water, sucks up moisture from the veggies, but the flavor of those veggies gets sucked into it. Where if you're just, steaming rice, you're just taking on the flavor of water, and that's why you pretty much should always add something to your rice before you cook it to give it some flavor. Unless whatever you're cooking has got so much flavor, when you pour it over the top, it's going to just rock and roll. So I'm not going to go much heavier than that. I'm going to give that about 2 minutes, and then we'll get back to it after. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, before I add my broth, I'm going to let these mushrooms sweat just a bit, because if you throw in the broth to cook the rice, it's harder to get the moisture to come out of the mushrooms. The mushrooms are just completely, 99% water. So we'll give that another 2 minutes, just to let those mushrooms sweat a bit. And at the same time, the rice will absorb the flavor from those chopped mushrooms. And just keep spreading it out. I don't know, obviously you can't see it on the camera, but the little grains of rice have turned almost clear. They start out white as pasta, but as soon as they start taking in moisture, they change color. It doesn't mean they're cooked, it just means they're absorbing moisture. Because again, a risotto, the rice should be al dente. It shouldn't be mush. It should just kind of, press between your teeth that there's a texture there. So keep giving it a good stir. You really want to get that heat into the rice, so if you got any big clumps, make sure you break it up. I can already see my veggies starting to caramelize a bit, which means we're almost about ready to start adding the broth. Actually, I think I'm going to go for a little bit of broth right now. I can't find my ladle, so I'm just going to go with a measuring cup. Not actually measuring it, just taking a look and listening to the sizzle. Maybe, yeah. So for that, a little bit more, or around a 1/4 cup of the broth left over from my mussels last night. So we'll steam that off, let it reduce. Waiting for the fish to cook. I got 11 more minutes before the fish is completed. So what I want to do is not let this cook too fast. So now I'll just slowly vaporize off the broth that I dropped in there, and then we'll get to the next phase where I do the broth again. Okay, now I'm giving it a really good stir, and I'm gonna add quite a bit more of the broth now, because I really want to cook the rice to its point. Remember, taste. It's crunchy as shit. So, just give me a taste. Always taste. Check it out. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a good portion of broth. That's about 3/4 of a cup of broth. And now I'll just let it simmer and let the rice absorb the broth. And hopefully I can get it down to the consistency that I want to actually call it a risotto. So I'll get this well blended. Keep the heat on medium high, which is like 7 to 7.5 on my stove. And not put it to the side and move it back. So as you can see right now, it's simmering very nicely. I don't need to add anything to it at this time. Like I said, the broth that I made last night out of 3 pounds of mussels, when the mussels open up and they release their moisture into the broth, and the broth was made from 1 full bottle of white wine and some creme fraiche, garlic, onions, fresh thyme, curry powder. It has all the ingredients already that you need, and because it's got a base of seafood from all the mussels, and you're going to serve this with Alaskan salmon, you really want that little extra fish taste in there to really make it go along. Okay, so now you can see it's reduced quite a bit. We're back to that saute sound. You can see that all the moisture's been given up into the rice. Smells absolutely fabulous. That mussel broth was just like the absolute best idea for this dinner. So let me grab another spoon here, just to check the rice. It's not there yet. So make sure you don't overcook the rice. And there's very little moisture left, and it's not al dente yet. You add more broth. That just means it needs to suck up more broth because it's still dry. So I'll add another half cup, maybe another third. Stir it back up again. Fan it out across the pan. Knock off what you got in your spoon. Clear the sides. And let it simmer just a bit more. Because it's a feel thing. There's no minutes and timing to a risotto. It's all about, you gotta taste it, you gotta check it. You gotta crunch those little rices between your teeth. And just as they stop being crunchy, that's when it's ready. Okay, so you can see it's still simmering. There's still quite a bit of broth in there. So I'm gonna just grab a little bit of the rice. 3 more minutes. Tops. Yeah. Good 3 minutes of simmering for sure.